Okay, now we're still talking about parabolas here, but we're going to get into some more in-depth details about parabolas, maybe than you've ever heard before. So we're considering conic sections one more time, and we're going to add in a few more facts about parabolas. So let's just read this definition of what it says here. It says the axis of symmetry of a parabola passes through the focus and is perpendicular to the directrix. The vertex is the midpoint of the line segment joining the focus and the directrix on the axis. So we may be talking about parabolas that are facing up and down, vertically oriented, or they could be facing left and right, horizontally oriented. But the focus is just some point inside of the parabola. So we're going to kind of annotate here that this is the focus, this is the directrix, and the vertex is actually the midpoint there. Okay, so I want you to think about a satellite dish, and maybe some of you have a satellite dish on your house, so on your roof. So satellite dish, if you've ever seen one, has this kind of little thing outside, and usually there's like a little brace that's holding it out in front, and sometimes it comes from the center. So maybe it looks something like this. Okay, the satellite dish kind of looks like that on your roof, and what happens is that this satellite is connecting to another satellite, maybe out in space, and if you can imagine, there's radio waves just hitting this thing, and maybe radio waves being transmitted as well. But this right here is located at the what's called the focus. So it's just a matter of like a design principle in engineering. All right, so what we're going to do, I need you to understand that there is an application behind this. Okay, so maybe you want to be some kind of an engineer one day. You know, there's a reason why we're going over this, and maybe it's more complicated than you'd ever hope to study, but there's a purpose behind what it is that we're doing. Okay, there's a reason for this madness. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple of examples where we're going to have to find something like the focus or the directrix. All right, and we've got some formulas here, and the formulas are going to assist us in finding out this critical information. Okay, so we're going to take a look at the first example that I have listed here as number 4, and I'm going to write it right here, and it says x squared equals 16y. Okay, x squared equals 16y. So this tells me, first of all, that I've got a parabola with a vertical axis because it's in terms of x squared. So I'm going to be looking right here at this this diagram. Okay, so if I look at the formula, it says x squared equals 4py. X squared equals 4py. So if you put 2 and 2 together here, you can say, well, 16 equals 4p then, and p then must equal 4 because you divide both sides by 4, p equals 4. All right, so the location of the focus then is going to be, okay, based on this here, the location of the focus is 0p. So if p is 4, then the focus is at 0, 4. All right, and then the directrix, if you look here, the directrix is y equal negative p, or opposite p, I should say. So then the directrix is going to be y equal negative 4. Now remember, because they're equidistant from the vertex, that is why they're equal but opposite. Okay, and let's talk about the symmetry. Well, what kind of symmetry does it have? It has y-axis symmetry. Y-axis symmetry. Okay, so now is a good time for you to pause. If you want to review this again, maybe rewind it, but I'm going to clear my board now. Okay, so in this next example, we see that it says -1/40 x squared equals y. So again, we're still dealing with vertical axis symmetry. So I'm going to say then, well, okay, what do we have? X squared equals 4py. But if you notice, it's not quite set up like that. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to move this to the other side. So we're going to have to divide by -1/40. Okay, and that's going to end up, if you think about it, on both sides, that's going to be like multiplying by -40. So then we're going to say x squared equals -40y. Okay, it's not terribly difficult, but now we say x squared equal 4py, and we're going to have -40 equals 4p. So then when you divide both sides by 4, p equals -10. So p will equal -10. All right, and that's not terribly difficult. So now we can list out our focus, which is going to be 0, -10, and our directrix. Let's write out our directrix. It's going to be the opposite of -10, so +10. All right, and because it's vertically oriented, we're going to still have y-axis symmetry. Okay, so not much to this problem either. So I'm going to go ahead and I recommend you pause, rewind if you need to, but I'm going to clear the board one more time. Okay, now we're going to look at one more example, and if you notice, this one is probably slightly different than we've seen from the first two, but that's okay. It's still got x squared involved, so we're still dealing with a parabola with a vertical axis, but maybe not necessarily the y-axis. Okay, so we're going to take a look at that. We'll investigate. All right, so let's see here. X plus 3 squared will equal 4py. Okay, because we're still trying to find the focus and the directrix here. This one is shifted though to the left 3 units. It's parabola shifted, but it's not a big deal here. Okay, it really isn't. All right, we're going to take these facts and we're going to solve for p. So what we can say here is that 32 equals 4p. Okay, so if you solve for p, then p equals 8. So now the only thing is that we need to understand that where before in some of the other examples we were dealing with the vertical axis, y-axis being the axis of symmetry, here the axis of symmetry is now x equals -3. Okay, so this right here will adjust our coordinate for our focus. Okay, our focus will be at -3, 8. Okay, because the axis of symmetry is the vertical line x equal -3. All right, but that doesn't change anything about the directrix. Okay, because the directrix will be y equal -8. Remember, it should be opposite of whatever your p-value, whatever the focus coordinate is. Okay, and the axis of symmetry, we already mentioned it. The axis of symmetry is this vertical line x equals -3 that we computed from over here, because it is a shift. All right, it is a shift. All right, let me fix that for you. Okay, so not much really to these problems. Really simple to find the focus, the directrix. Just got to kind of follow the formulas, if you will. So if this video was helpful, as always, be sure to like and subscribe.